We're going to hear from the sister of the defendant. And she was very close to, obviously, her brother, who's the defendant in this case. She knew what was going on. She knew what he had been convicted of in the past. And she's going to admit to seeing him with a younger child, not knowing it was Naziah Harris. And this one's going to be hard to hear. So y'all get ready for it. Here's her testimony.
Birthday.
November 21st, 1982.
And do you see Jarvis Butts in the courtroom today?
I saw him walking in.
Okay. And can you point to him and tell me the color of the clothing that he's wearing?
He has on, I believe it's dark green shirt. He's sitting behind the lady to the side of you.
Okay. And Your Honor, would the record reflect when it says identified the defendant in this case?
So reflected. And just to be clear, you said I saw him walking in. You saw him when you were walking in or when he was walking in?
When I was walking in just now.
Thank you.
And Ms. Butts, where did you know Jarvis to work?
Sad.
He worked at a shop on Warren and Neff called Frank's, and then he moved to a shop on Hopper and Connors. I don't know the name of it.
Okay. And Ms. Butts, do you remember talking to Detroit police back on February 26th of 2024?
Yes.
Okay. And what's the reason that you went and talked to Detroit police?
I had reason to believe that I saw Naziah the day she went missing.
Okay.
And this isn't the first time she saw something either. Like, I'm gonna try and get through this, y'all. This is not the first time she saw something. She was kind of like, oh, that's weird, and didn't say a word. We talked about this when we were reviewing the press conference from Fannie Willis the other day. I mean, as a community, as a normal person, just say something. And if things aren't adding up, do what you got to do. This was a child who was left unprotected because of what? You're afraid of hurting somebody's feelings? And this happens all the time, especially in certain communities, whether it's this or whether it's drugs or whether it's gang activity. Just people just, well, hey, it is what it is.
Tell me about that.
Disgusting.
What makes you believe that you saw Naziah on the day she went missing?
Where do you want me to start this alive?
So, from the very beginning, where is it that you think you saw Naziah?
At the shop on Harbor and Connors.
Okay. I wonder if she has kids and if her kids were around her brother. That's what I want to know too. And again, I'm not going to apologize for attacking this woman. Because if she had kids and her brother was around her kids, then that makes this even worse.
And
disgusting.
Who shot that?
My brother Jarvis Butts and his partner.
Okay.
Who he had 5 kids with, by the way.
What's the reason you were at your brother's shop that day?
Something was wrong with the car that I was driving, and I just needed him to check it out to make sure it was safe for me to drive.
Okay. Do you recall about what time did you go to Jarvis's shop that day?
About 4 p.m., give or take a few minutes.
Okay. And around what time did you leave?
Somewhere between 6 and 6:30.
Okay. And what is it that you noticed while you were at the shop?
So, it's a 2 car, like garage. So I was sitting outside of the shop in my car because they were working on another car on the inside. As I sat there for the time that I was there, I kept seeing a little girl get in and out of his truck, going to the gas station and going back to his car.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop you right there. Whose car are we talking about?
My brother.
Okay, and what kind of car was it?
I believe a Cadillac Escalade.
Okay. Do you remember what color?
Kind of like a pearl white, off white cream color.
Okay, and you said you described this as a like a 2 garage shop.
Yes.
Okay, and I want to approach with people's Exhibit 7.
Okay.
How can you
Now,
not protect
Ms.
this
Woods,
child?
Do you recognize what is it we're looking at in People's Exhibit 7?
Yes.
Okay, what is that?
That is the shop
Okay.
right in the middle.
And where at were you parked when you saw someone getting in and out of Jarvis's truck?
In front of the car doors of the garage right here, I was parked facing, I don't know what direction it is, but going towards Gratiot. I was like in front, but outside.
Okay, so you were kind of parked parallel with the road.
Yes.
Okay. Can you draw a T where your truck was?
My car?
Yeah, your car was.
Can I?
Yes. And then put an arrow the way you were facing. And where is it where that Jarvis's truck was? Just put a J where Jarvis's truck was. And what way was his truck facing?
It was facing my direction, so the front was
Towards you. Okay, so put an arrow for that direction.
Yeah, don't type that in the chat.
Now, do you get a look at this little girl that you see getting in and out of his car?
I saw her, as she was walking. I never saw her face.
Did you see any
What
clothing?
date was this?
I did.
Okay. Did anything about the clothing stick out to you that you remember?
I just remember her having on a colorful jacket.
Okay. And what door, which side do you remember seeing her getting in and out of Jarvis's truck? Or did it change?
I don't really remember.
Okay, that's okay. So you said you mostly remember a jacket, a colorful jacket.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I'm going to show you what's marked as People's Exhibit 2, which is already admitted, and People's Proposed Exhibit 10. You understand my approach?
Yes.
Handing
Yeah,
this
good,
mark-
good. I love this face. Feel guilty. Feel guilty for the rest of your entire life. I don't forgive you. No, you should not be forgiven. I'm so happy to see this look. You should feel absolutely terrible. You saw a young child get into someone who served 10 years as an offender's car, and you didn't say anything. How is this even possible in the first place?
Exhibits 2 and 10. Okay.
Throw her under the jail too.
Do you recognize anything in those photos?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes.
What is it that you recognize?
Like, why would she?
Right here, this jacket.
And for the record, you're pointing up in channel 1, and you recognize this like pink colorful jacket?
Yes.
Okay. And that's in People's Exhibit 10? Your Honor, I move for the admission of People's Proposed Exhibit 10 as Exhibit 10. Is that a fair and accurate depiction of the jacket that you saw that day?
Yes.
Your Honor, I move for the proposed People's Exhibit 10.
Any objection?
That wasn't the first time,
Okay,
D-Lo,
People's
though.
Exhibit 10.
Okay. And in People's 2, is that also, where is the what you recognize People's Exhibit 2?
Lock her up.
Looks like,
I don't care.
2 here, maybe?
Okay. Facing the back?
Yeah.
Okay. And you recognize the jacket in this photo too, right? Yes.
It's a little blurry, but it looks the same.
Okay.
Same.
And what about in channel 1 of Exhibit 2?
It would be this one right here.
Okay, and it's fair to say that's the back of a jacket? It seems to be the back of a jacket? Okay, thank you. And you said that you saw this little girl with this jacket on getting in and out, going into the gas station?
Yes.
Okay. Did you know who this little girl was at the time?
No.
Okay. Is there a time that you ever get out of your car?
Yes.
And what do you do?
I needed to use the restroom, so I asked his partner if I could use the restroom. He told me to go and tell him in the gas station. And as I was walking towards the gas station,
This is January 9th.
she was walking in front of me going into the gas station.
Okay. So about how far in front of you was she?
I would say maybe where the gentleman in the gray blazer is behind you. Maybe a little bit farther, I'm not really sure about that distance.
From where you are to him?
Yeah.
Okay. And boy, I'm really bad at estimates.
20, 25 feet.
I would agree with about 20, 25 feet. And you said you never got a chance to see this little girl's face.
No.
Was there anything else about her that you can remember?
I just remember her being kind of small, like outside of just seeing her get in and out of the car.
Ah, this just makes
When
it
I was
worse.
walking towards her, I was like, she's tiny, and I just remembered the coat.
Okay. Tiny, like in what way? Like tiny, skinny, short?
Kind of skinny and short.
Okay. And did you ever ask Jarvis who the little girl was?
Yes.
And what did he tell you?
He told me, and I can't remember if it was this exact word, or he said it's my partner's niece, or he said it was King's niece.
Okay. But
But
you knew who he was referring to?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm glad this was brought up. And I see y'all talking about it in the comments. I don't care if he says, oh, this is Donald Trump's. This is Donald Trump's niece. I'm just escorting her. Given his history, given what he had been served over 10 years for before, as someone who knows this man should have never been alone with a child. Period. And say, I'm just walking her over to the gas station. Nope. Oh, she just wanted me to show her where the bathroom. No. Not in the same room. Not in the same car. Not in the same building. Not in the same state. I mean, she knew. She knew his history. She knew something wasn't right. And she didn't say anything. And this was not the first time. A lot of y'all mentioned it in the comments too. Who's to say something hasn't happened to the other kids?
Did you think anything of it at the time?
No.
Okay. And what is it that made you think something
Crazy.
Was there a time that you
They
you
knew.
thought something different?
They knew.
Yes.
Okay. And what is it that made you think something different?
I received phone call, a video call from one of his kids' mom, and she told me about some things that happened on Valentine's Day, and then she sent me a video of a podcast about my brother.
Okay. And what did you do?
I
as a
don't want
result
to
of
know what
receiving
happened on
those
Valentine's Day. I'm good on that.
I called Shannon and I asked her for Sergeant Jones' phone number.
things? Okay. And who's the Shannon that you called?
His kid's mom.
Shannon Harris?
Yes.
Okay. Do you do anything before you go and talk to Sergeant Jones?
Yes.
Okay. What is it that you do?
Okay, so after having a conversation with Shannon Harris and his other kid's mom,
She
I
does.
was informed that his partner King, I guess something happened where the
Objection, this is hearsay.
It's not a statement yet, Judge.
Being informed.
I'm not sure what she's even about to say.
Yeah,
To the
relax.
extent that it's informed of someone else's statement.
You might have to object in a couple moments.
You need to speak up.
If you could stand up
Please.
and make your objection.
Yes, just objecting to the fact that she was informed of something. It appears this might be hearsay, but we'll see. Yeah.
Could you finish what you were saying? I don't know where you're going with this.
I'm trying to remember where I left. Okay, so after talking to Shannon Harris and his other kid's mom, I was informed of some things that had taken place. I think Valentine's Day. So they told me that his
So
partner
objection.
King.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so
That
at this
is-
point, this is hearsay. They told me, and the lack of personal knowledge, the things that she was informed of.
Can I finish?
1 second.
One.
What is it?
So Miss Harris knew about some things that happened on Valentine's Day. Yikes. Again, this happens. People know, and they just shrug it off. But they don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. Just don't say anything. It's fine. He's just friendly.
An objection.
I'm sorry.
The witness has to stop talking.
So, based on those, do you go and talk to someone else?
Yes.
Okay. Who do you go and talk to?
His partner, King,
Okay. And where is it that you go and talk to King at?
at the shop on Harbor Encounters.
Okay. And without telling me what King said, kind of describe what was your conversation about?
Lock him up too.
Well, I went to see what happened and what was going on. During that time, I told him that I had never seen any little girl at my brother's shop besides my nieces, outside of the little girl that I saw getting out of his truck today.
Okay.
And you told this to who?
King.
Okay.
And who is King again?
His business partner.
Okay. And
Yeah,
do you know
lock
his
all of
government
them.
name?
I believe it's Cordero or something like that. I just always call him King.
Okay. So
A
you went and
hole.
told him that you hadn't seen anyone out at the shop besides your nieces and then the one little girl you saw that one day.
Yes.
Okay. Did you ask him about that little girl?
Well, I didn't ask him about it. After I said that to him, he told me.
Objection, Your Honor, this is going to be hearsay again.
It's not hearsay.
Judge, it's going to go to the effect of on the listener.
There could be an exception. I don't know what she's saying. So you might as well just stay standing up. Go ahead, say what you're going to say.
It's not
After I
hearsay.
mentioned to him that I had only saw my nieces and one particular little girl, he then told me that that was Naziah that I saw that day and I was there.
So I would object
And-
then, given now that she has testified to that it is hearsay and that it is being introduced with truth.
And Judge, I would say that it's actually a statement of identification.
So this is not an identification that she personally made. She's just being told.
I mean, she saw Naziah that day, so it's
She didn't know who it was. I mean, she had no idea who this was. That's
She
not
didn't know
her
who she was.
identification.
So it is hearsay.
okay. So, without saying what King said, were you informed of anything about a little girl that you saw on January 9th, 2024?
Yes.
Okay. And to your knowledge, Jarvis had told you that that was King's niece.
Yes.
Okay. And
He lied.
when you talked to King, did you have reason to not believe what Jarvis told you?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know your nieces from Jarvis? Sorry.
I'm sorry.
That is a poorly worded question. I am sorry. If that was your niece, would you have recognized her that day?
Yes.
Okay. And you did not recognize this little girl as your niece, did you?
No.
Okay. What is it that you did after speaking with King that day?
I called Shannon Harris and I asked her for Sergeant Jones' phone number.
Okay. And did you eventually talk to Sergeant Jones?
Yes.
Okay.
She finally did something. She was sick of it. So she finally decided to call. Don't act like, oh, I was so surprised. It's the first time I saw anything. Please.
Sorry about that. What
That's not
day
how it
was
works.
that you went to the shop and saw the little girl?
Can I ask you a question? I didn't remember the exact day at that time.
Okay. What is it that makes you believe that it was Naziah Harris that you saw on that day?
What she was wearing, probably.
I'm not quite sure how to answer what you're asking me. Like,
That may be a poorly worded question. I'm sorry. Can I just have 1 second, Judge?
Yes.
Alice, did you come to learn of the day that you had gone to Jarvis's shop by going through the locations on your phone?
Yes.
Okay. And that's the day that you don't remember off the top of your head right now, but it is revealed in your phone locations?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. One second, let me get her binder.
Should have said something sooner. Yeah, it's your fault. Should have spoken up, because you know what happened to the other ones too.
When is it that you went through your phone locations to determine the date?
I hope I'm wrong.
Oh, I'm sorry, do you need a moment?
I believe it's February, I think like 24th or the 26th. I can't remember the exact date.
Okay, that's when you would have went through your phone to find those?
Yes.
Okay, and did you also go through that in your interview with Sergeant Jones?
Yes.
Okay. And did you give Sergeant Jones permission to look at your location data?
Yes.
Okay. And your phone kind of extraction in general? Like to go through your phone for the data?
Yes.
Okay.
I hope so. I hope she's in a jumpsuit soon.
Nothing else, Judge.
Okay, Good afternoon. So you go to the shop where your brother works periodically, right?
From time to time, yes.
You've been there prior to the day we've been talking about today?
Yes.
A couple times at least?
Yes.
And you'd been back there after?
Yes.
But the day we've been talking about, that's the only time you ever saw a child there?
That was the only time I saw a child I didn't recognize.
Okay, so you had seen other children there before?
Yes.
Okay. When you-
Oh no! I have not heard this testimony yet. I told you. She had seen other children there. God. That's what I was saying. All that guilt. It's now coming to the forefront. I don't want to see these tears, man. I don't want to see these tears. Throw her under the jail too. Y'all think it was just y'all think it was just Naziah? No way. He had all those kids around for a reason. Because then he can make sure the other ones aren't talking. The standard procedure happens
that's the only
too
time
many
you ever
times.
saw a child there?
That was the only time I saw a child I didn't recognize.
Okay, so you had seen other children there before?
Yes.
Okay. When you say that you recognize, these are who exactly?
Lock her up.
And when you first arrived at the shop that day, Jarvis told you that he wasn't going to be able to work on your car?
No.
No? Did you ask him if he'd be able to?
Judge, I think this calls for hearsay. They can't admit statements of the defendant.
I'm looking more so for her own statement, actually.
For her
Let's
what?
start with her own statement.
Okay.
Did you ask him right away if he would be able to work on your car
I talked to him prior to coming to the shop.
before you arrived? You asked if he could work on your car that day?
I asked him to look at my car that day.
Okay. Did you arrive at the shop with the understanding?
She traded her silence for free car repairs. That's what she did. Like, oh well, you know, I need my car fixed, so it is what it is. Disgusting.
be able to?
I arrived at the shop knowing that he was going to look at my car.
Okay. One moment.
Nah, Court, she saw other kids there. Court, you can't do this. Court says, in my opinion, she's the only one that cared. What? The hate should be towards the grandma, aunties, and other family members. That's not her niece, and she still stood up for what's right. No, she didn't, because she just said she had seen other kids there before, knowing her brother's history. Court, I'm gonna give you some homework. Go figure out what this monster Jarvis did in his other previous cases. I'm not going to talk about it here, but go look it up. Go find out. His sister knew what he was capable of and what he had done before. She had seen other kids there, and she was like, "Oh, hey Jarvis, can you fix my car?" No, we're not giving her a pass because she decided that she had had enough one day and wanted to talk to the sheriff because, oh man, this went too far. Let me cover myself before something comes out. Nah.
And was that via text or call or some other way?
Probably video call.
Okay, so a video call a little bit before you headed over?
Yeah, Dimitri, I don't care whose kids they were.
Earlier in the day, maybe.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly what time.
Okay, so that's how you decided that you'd go over later.
He told me I could come.
Judge, this is kind of all calling for hearsay in a backdoor way.
The response is hearsay. Not
Yeah.
that you necessarily asked for it, but it's hearsay.
Sure, we can keep it to her own. So to be clear, we don't need to talk about what he said to you, but you did a video call to him. And in that call, you asked if he could work on your car.
You
Right.
keep saying work on my car. I said look at my car.
Okay, look at your car, but you asked him personally in the video call.
Yes.
Okay, and that was maybe that morning?
I don't remember what time of day it was, but it was before I went to him.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and as you were saying, this day, I think you said you saw some other children there at other times, but this particular child, you only ever saw this child on this particular day.
Yes.
And the whole time you were there, from your testimony and from that police interview, you said that you never saw her face.
Yes.
And then you did also see some news stories about this case.
Yes.
Yeah, in the podcast that you talked about. Right, there were some podcasts.
I had already saw her on the news, but I did not know who she was.
Sure, but that was, by seeing those stories, that's how you started to think.
Well, I was sent the podcast after some other things that was told to me. That's when I received the podcast.
So initially, between the day you were at the shop, right, and then until you started to see that news, at first you didn't make this connection that maybe she was anyone in particular.
Not at all.
Okay.
Yeah, you can blame the parents too. I blame
and then
all of
through
them.
seeing that news, those podcasts, that's when you started to think she
No,
was.
that's not the reason why I thought that.
No, but that's the timing, or it's not?
I guess you could say that.
That's when you started to, at least when you saw those things, that's when you started to wonder.
You're not on trial,
I was
lady. Just
wondering
tell the
before I
truth
saw
for
the
once.
podcast.
Jesus.
Okay, in your police interview that you did, did you tell them that at first when you saw the news you didn't really make a connection because of not having seen her face?
Yes.
Okay. So that interview was on February 26, 2024, right?
Yes.
And you were having some trouble remembering some of the specific details from January 9th at that point?
Not so much as remembering maybe the order I remembered it in.
Okay, were there some times at least though when you were asked some questions and some details that you had to say, I can't remember some things?
I can't remember now.
Okay. And would you agree that at least
Like,
that
it
it,
didn't have been that.
okay. I
I
would just say,
probably did. I guess it would be safe to say because I didn't know.
okay, so you think it's safe to say that at that point in time there were at least some details you were having a hard time, some questions you couldn't answer?
I can't disagree.
Okay. And it was pretty close in time, shortly before that police interview, that was when you first started to think that maybe this girl you'd seen at the shop had been Messiah Harris.
Can you repeat that?
So the first time you started to think that maybe that child, the one you saw, maybe that was Messiah Harris. That
Yeah,
was
we're
pretty
doing it,
close
Sean.
in time to the police interview.
Maybe about a week or so before.
Okay, I believe, does it sound right to you that I think you told the police that it was on the Thursday prior to the interview?
Whatever the Thursday was after Valentine's Day.
Okay, so probably February 22nd. That was the Thursday prior to your interview.
Okay.
And then when you were at the shop, you primarily saw this child while she was inside a truck, right?
I didn't know it was a child in the truck until she kept getting out.
Okay, but when you saw her, she was in a truck?
I saw her getting out the truck, yes.
And were you inside your vehicle?
Yes.
You arrived in the daylight, right?
Yes.
And that's, I think, what you're referring to, right? Initially, that's when you didn't yet know somebody was in the truck.
She knew she had seen too much, so she had to say
Can you say
something.
that again?
So at the beginning, when you first got there, right, you didn't know right away that somebody
Simple.
was in the truck.
No, I didn't.
I think you had said before, because it was so light outside, it was a bit difficult to see into the truck.
I wasn't really paying attention to his truck. He was outside of it.
Sure. And then in your police interview, you referred to then seeing a light in the truck, and that's
what
when
I'm
you started
saying,
to see
Sean.
somebody.
Yeah, that's when the door opened.
Okay, so there's a light turned on, and at the same time a door opened.
That's the reason the light was on.
Okay, because the truck door was open. Yes.
Sure.
What's your point?
And you said that you saw a couple different times her go back and forth to the gas station,
Yes.
and only at one of those different times you were on your way to the gas station as well.
Yes.
But for that whole time, she remained in front of you.
When I was going into the gas station, she was in front of me. When I walked into the gas station, she went to the left, I went straight, and over to the right.
For that walk over to the gas station, was it getting dark at that point?
It was already dark.
Okay. And while she was in the truck, you were not sure exactly which part of the truck this was?
I can't remember, no.
Okay. So you understood initially that when you arrived, you'd probably have to wait at the shop sometime?
Yes.
I think you referred to just one other car he worked on first. Is that all there was before you?
It was actually another vehicle out there, but I don't pay my brother to work on my car, so I had to wait until he was done making his money. So I waited.
Sure. So do you know how many cars he worked on before he got to you?
I don't remember.
Okay. Do you know if there were any other customers present in person?
I did see someone, I can't remember what kind of car it was in, but it was, I believe, a gentleman that needed to pull into the garage because Jarvis asked me to move my car out the way because I was blocking the garage, so yes.
Was this someone you recognized at all?
No.
So in total, other than Jarvis, or who you referred to as King, was there anyone present that you recognized that day?
No. Just King and my brother.
So as you said, the sun set while you were there. Do you know about how long it was light out before it got dark?
Well, I got there about 4 o'clock. It didn't take long for it to get dark. I don't remember the exact time, but it got dark pretty fast.
Okay, and then other than when you went to the gas station, were you always at the shop?
What do you mean?
So did you go anywhere else?
No, I never left. All I did was move my car when he asked me to move my car, and once the driveway was clear, I back where I was. I didn't go anywhere else.
Okay.
She was there
And
hanging
when
out
you
with the
were
kids.
Present, not going to the gas station, were you always inside your vehicle?
Yes,
Were your doors open or closed?
closed.
Okay, were your windows up or down?
They were up unless I asked him something,
Okay, so sometimes if you needed to communicate, you just open the window.
or I would call him. Yeah. Yes.
And you were saying today that at one point you did speak to Jarvis about who this girl was.
Yes.
And when you were talking to the police about this, you had said that you weren't sure exactly what his response was.
Yeah, those tears dried
What I
all the
said
way
was I
up.
wasn't sure of the wording.
Sure, that's what I mean.
Okay.
You told the police, right, that it might have been King's niece, or maybe he said it's my homeboy's niece.
He said it was his partner or King's niece, but he definitely said it was someone else's niece.
Okay, I think, does it sound right to you that you used the term homeboy's niece with the police?
I probably did.
Okay.
It's all the same to me.
And then that's what you continued to think at first, right? At first you just believed that it was someone else's niece.
Yes,
Specifically, you thought it was probably King's niece.
that's what I was told.
Which I think as we established, right, King is the same person as Cordell, right?
Yes.
And then after that, you would listen to some of these podcasts and to the news.
I listened to his kid's mother, and then I watched the podcast.
Okay, so those are some things that happened. Both.
Yes.
Oh, for
And then
sure.
once you started to
For
have
sure,
this different
Amy.
information you were gathering, then you kind of started to look into it for yourself,
Yes.
do some of your own investigation.
Yes.
And then at one point following that, that's when you decided to go back to the shop
Yes.
to speak to Cordell
Yes.
and to discuss some of these things you've been learning with him.
Yes.
You and Jarvis are not particularly close.
I wouldn't say that we're really distant. I don't see him every day. I don't talk to him every day, but he's my brother.
Okay. He's your brother, but you don't have a very close relationship, or?
Yeah. What are you saying, lady? No, don't start crying.
He's my brother.
What about with his children? Are you close with his children?
Some of the ones that I know.
So he has 13 kids, right?
I have
Happens
no
all the
idea.
time.
Do you have an idea of around how many kids he has?
A lot.
Okay. Do some of them live with different mothers?
Yes.
He's got like
And you
13
don't
some
spend time
kids.
with all of them.
No.
So which ones do you know?
I don't want to say their names. They're minors.
Okay.
And I don't want to disclose their identity.
Could you just give like a number instead? How many do you know?
I'm counting.
She's counting. Oh, God. The worst.
About
Of,
8.
So when you say 8 that you know, does that mean 8 that you have like personal contact with?
Jesus.
I have.
Okay. When is the last time that you've seen any of them?
Maybe about 2 months ago.
Were you and Jarvis raised by your grandmother?
For the most part.
Y'all are saying it's over 20
And were there
kids?
some events surrounding her death that related to your relationship with Jarvis that impacted some things?
No.
Yes, this is Cross Sean P.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Can you redirect?
Yes, Judge.
Don't get an attitude now,
You said
ladies.
there was kind of there was another reason. There was a different reason that you thought that it was Nazai that you had saw that day. When you were starting to compile,
She was bad, Sean.
or when you
But
talked to
this is-
Shannon Harris, and then you got the podcast.
This is just
Before that, you said
preliminary hearings.
There was other reasons why you had thought that was Nazaya.
So, am I?
Yes,
can I
what-
speak for-
what is that?
okay,
Yes.
So, at the time, I didn't know. Once I realized that it was a possibility that I saw her, there were several reasons that led me to believe that it was a possibility that I was there. And I didn't want to get into detail as far as what I knew before the podcast. But if you would like, I would explain to you why I thought these things.
Your Honor, so can we approach? Yes. We'll be right back.
Legally Donna says, I want to know this story about the grandmother. Look at her face when she asked that question. Grandma was on some other ish. Let's skip ahead to when they come back. Also, I'm gonna put this up there for y'all. There's him, that guy. Sentence 1, criminal sexual conduct, 3rd degree, person 13 through 15. That was back in 2004. He was sentenced in 2005. He got discharged 9 years later. He's over there crying. Man, stop.
We are back on the record. Ms. Butts, you are still under oath. Ms. Swift, you go right ahead.
Thank you. So, Ms. Bucks, what are What's the sources of these reasons that you have? Are these things that you know from your personal knowledge? Are these things that you observe yourself?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Repeat that.
So these reasons that you were thinking of, what are the sources of them? Is it somebody told you something? Is it something that you saw yourself, you observed, or a coupling of that?
I would say a bit of both. Things that I was told and things that I heard.
Okay. Were there heard from Jarvis?
No,
Okay. Were these things that you had already known prior
prior to.
to thinking that was Messiah that you saw?
I'm sorry, I'm confused on the question.
So are these things the sources that you have for these reasons? Are they like things that you have personal knowledge of, or are they things that somebody told you about?
She has personal knowledge of. Come on, lady. Tell the truth.
These were things that I was told. I'm trying to understand the question that you're asking me.
The question is, you had this feeling about your brother, right? Yeah. What gave you this feeling about your brother? Is it something that you knew or something that somebody else told you? Her answer should be both. She knew. Come on, lady.
Ms. Ripley, you're referring to the question before we went into the sidebar about her leading up to believing that it was possibly Naziah Harris at the shop, correct?
Yes.
Does that help clarify
Okay.
the line of questioning?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So those reasons, those things, are those things that you had known before? Are they based
Those
on your
things. Stop saying those
observations?
things.
Or
Come on.
These were things that I was
Prosecutor?
told. And after asking the questions that I needed to ask, I came up with the conclusion that it was a possibility that Naziah was the little girl that I saw that day.
okay. Thank you. You said that
She absolutely
when you
knew.
were parked at Jarvis's shop that it was getting dark out.
Yes.
Okay. That darkness, is that maybe the reason why the color on the jacket stood out?
Well, the jacket didn't stand out until I was walking into the gas station behind her because I wasn't really paying attention to what she had on. I just kept seeing her get in and out of the truck, going in the gas station and coming back to the truck, and that's what caught my attention.
Okay. So the movement is what attracted you to it at first.
Yes.
Okay.
Still disgusting, Sean. I don't care how she feels.
Okay, Ms. Bussey.
All right, and that's it for that section of the testimony. So she got off of the stand after saying that she pretty much knew what was going on, and she finally decided to do something about it. Salute to her, I guess. Anyway, y'all let me know what you think. I'm gonna try. It's gonna be hard for me to be unbiased in this situation. We've already seen so much, and especially, as I mentioned, if you get into the text messages and what the grandmother said or what people around her said about confronting him before this went down, saying, why are you talking to Naziah like this? He's like, well, I don't know. Who sent that message? It's not a big deal. It gets dark real quick. Let me know what y'all think.